Welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversation at Home program. I'm Justin Kirkland from Esquire. Before we're joined by our guest today, I want to let you know that the SAG-AFTRA Foundation is a nonprofit organization that relies entirely on donations to provide emergency assistance and free educational programs to SAG-AFTRA artists. This conversation is made possible thanks to the generosity of our supporters. Over the past year, the foundation has given nearly $7 million in COVID relief to more than 7,000 performers. If you're a SAG-AFTRA artist and need help, please ask. And if you can, please give. Information can be found in the description of this video. Thank you for your support. Now, without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce actors Kevin Costner, Cole Hauser, Kelly Reilly, Kelsey Asbille, Gil Birmingham, and Wes Bentley of Yellowstone. Thank you guys for joining us. Congratulations on being the SAG-nominated cast of Yellowstone. That's how everybody has to refer to you now moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
First and foremost, sitting here and looking at all these faces, for anybody that's a fan of the show, this is terrifying because the characters on this show are vicious and gruesome. So if this interview goes poorly, I need you guys to not, throw me off the train station. So hang in there with me. I want to start with Kevin because you've been in your fair share of Westerns throughout the years. But this is kind of a combination of a modern day Western and a family drama. What is it about this character of John Dutton, who is essentially the core of this world, that jumped out to you that's different from characters that you might have played within the genre before?
Well, all I can say is I found it interesting, obviously, because I do like being in the outdoors. I think there's nothing quite like seeing open spaces and the rivers and mountains and horses running. But I was really drawn to this way of life because it actually is not in the past. It's still going on. Modern day ranching is still, people are still getting up before sunrise and they're going to bed. There's people in the Midwest right now that are out there trying to protect their stock. Even our creator is probably out on his horse right now trying to, save stock from this terrible freeze. And so, yes, we're a family drama. We're a dysfunctional family. You can call it what it wants, but this thing is lodged in a way of life that still goes on in America.
Well, I think what is so interesting about the show for me, and especially 4 seasons in to start getting a Producers Guild Award and or nomination, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, aren't we? And to land a SAG nomination is that the show has been building an audience, and I've always thought that it's because it's speaking to an audience that story's not been out there. Have you guys found as performers that you're getting that kind of feedback, that people are seeing a story that isn't part of our zeitgeist right now?
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. Often that's what I hear back from people is it's like nothing else they're seeing, and it's speaking to them in a way that maybe other shows that include family drama or have the sort of similar themes when it comes to the family. I think the story of America and the West is one that is difficult to tell, and we've got a very talented man telling it. So I think people are responding to that. At least that's what they're telling me.
It's fun to sit with you guys as a group because clearly you all get along really well and there's a good dynamic. When was the last time that you guys got to see each other as a group? Because filming's been done for a while now.
I think it's been about a year and a half.
Go ahead. Yeah, we've all been stuck in the middle of COVID like everybody else.
Yeah. With that good feeling on set and with the dynamics, I guess specifically, I'm thinking about Wes's character and Kelly's character. You guys have such a contentious relationship on camera, but how has that evolved over 4 years? Because I imagine the more that you get to know someone, the more difficult that can be.
I mean, look, I remember the first time, the season 1, when we all met, we all were introduced to one another, and we had the first 6 scripts, and it was very clear of the relationship between Beth and Jamie, and how Beth particularly treats Jamie and what she thinks about him. And I remember saying to him, because Wes and I have a lot of fun with our scenes and we get on very well, and there's a lot of mutual respect for one another. But I do remember saying to him, I'll see you on the other side of this, and if it gets a bit hairy. And little did I know that, how insane and how dark and how, how difficult their relationship was going to be, and actually already was. But yeah, that's been one of the most sort of difficult and weirdly enjoyable parts of the show for me is that dynamic, that relationship, so traumatic and so deeply layered. But yeah, we really have gone on a journey together as characters and as actors together. And the joy of having spent so long now working together that we don't really talk about the scenes anymore. As I remember at the beginning, we'd sort of talk about it a lot, and we'd sort of work out the scene, and now we sort of show up, and it's a bit like gladiators. We're sort of thrown in a ring and we're going to just go at it. And I love that feeling, because when I work with Wes, and that's why the ensemble nomination is so touching for me, because it really is an ensemble. You're walking in on set every day with a group of actors that are so embedded in their role and so brilliant at what they do, and you just want to bring your A game for them. And I certainly feel like that when I work with Wes, because it's so complicated and so painful, and there's a lot of apologies that used to happen after a scene with Wes, but now it's
Yeah.
Now you got it. Go ahead.
I'll just quickly follow, because she said it perfectly. I think the reason we can go so far, like Kelly says, because we are so close and we trust each other so deeply, and we bottled up so much of that energy in season one, so much of the difficulties between them, that's why we can just show up and let it loose on set. And Kelly's amazing to work with. She's so different from Beth. I mean, so completely opposite. It's pretty fun to watch her go back and forth on those days, and the collaboration with her from the beginning has been easy, and we were able to create something so dynamic and dangerous because of it. And I'm grateful to her every day I get to work with her.
Feel the same.
Kelly, as you said, that storyline between you and Wes is so layered. It's like so many others on the show, but I feel like there have been surprise after surprise that has come from that storyline. How integral would you say for both of you to know what that backstory is coming into it, to know that Beth was sterilized at a certain point?
Well, I didn't know that until the end of, gosh, it's so hard to remember looking back, when did I know? But it's certainly not until the season where it got revealed. I didn't know. But I did know that there was a betrayal, but I just didn't know what it was. And the betrayal was so painful because there was clearly so much love there. I mean, if we see how Beth loves her family, how much she loves her father, how much she loves Casey, how much she loves Rip, I mean, she really will die for them. I imagine that that's how she felt about Jamie at some point. So for the betrayal to be so tied in with a trauma that is obviously clearly still goes unhealed in Beth. And also, she's driven by loyalty, she feels that he isn't, sorry, Wes, but she feels that Jamie is an enemy to the family. And if there's an enemy to the family, it's, there is tunnel vision of just it's destroy, it's kill or be killed. And he's included in that. And because we know the backstory, emotional backstory of the two of them, and because it's so juicy and because it's so painful, this current season that we've just shot, I feel that when she's on that bloodthirsty vendetta, when she finds out that Jamie's involved in that, I mean, we know that Beth is not going to hold back, and it's just so brutal and so dark. Sorry, I'm talking too much.
No, not at all. For the brutality of a relationship like that, what I also love about Yellowstone is there's such a nuance in love and admiration that characters share. And I'm thinking particularly between the characters of Rip and John, because if if your brother can let you down, then this other de facto brother that gets brought in is as much of the family as anyone else. Cole, when it comes to establishing that relationship, both on and off camera, what goes into kind of developing that really subtle relationship that Rip has with a character like John?
Well, Kevin's from Ventura and I'm from Santa Barbara, so we had a kind of an immediate, love for each other, I should say. But no, I've been watching him from afar for a very long time as a young actor, and the opportunity to go and really settle in with him. And we've done 4 years together now, and I feel like, Taylor's kind of latched on to a little bit in season 4 of, our relationship together. And, there's been sprinkles, throughout the years, but I just feel like, he's continually growing the relationship between John Dutton and Rip. And I love going to work and having the opportunity to play with Kevin, and it's been exciting and fun and, at times challenging, but, this is a very special show, and this relationship I love. I mean, as much as Beth and I have our, wonderful moments, I really enjoy them with John and Kevin. So,
I mean, it's got to be a continually revolving door of experiences because the characters are so different. I mean, at one point you have a man that's working out the backstory of how to get somebody out of prison, and then the next you have Kelly rolling up in a sparkly gold dress saying, "We're getting married today." So I like how the tone can change on a dime. When it comes,
the great thing that Taylor's given me, there's a lot of colors to Rip. And he has to go into every different, whether it's the bunkhouse or dealing with Beth or sitting with John, who's his boss. I mean, he's being pulled a lot of different ways. And it's fun to play that. I'm obviously, I'm very happy that Taylor writes him that way. To have the opportunity to be able to go into all these different situations and have to deal with them.
I know that Taylor has said that he has an idea of where the show is going and how it comes to a close.
Yeah.
As performers, and this is an open question, do you think that it is easier on you knowing this character has a trajectory? I may not know where it is, but this is really written out. It allows me to rely on it. Or is it something that you would, it's not, you don't like that?
No.
Why is that?
I mean, this personally, just for me, if you're asking me, I like to go to work and actually, live and grow with the character, and not know the end at all, and be able to find those moments and live really, in those moments, whether it's with, Beth, whether it's with John, Gil and I, we don't get an opportunity. I want to work with Gil a little bit more. I mean,
yes.
But, and Wes, we've only had a couple scenes, but it's like, I love, that feeling of like, just, everything's new. And that's what makes Taylor so amazing too, is that he has the ability to really keep you on your toes, and that's what I want, so.
Does anyone here know the end game? Obviously we're not talking about it, but does anyone have an idea on how this kind of comes to a close?
I don't.
Yeah, Taylor does.
It depends what bottle of wine he's drinking, I think.
That's true. Yeah.
I noticed Kevin didn't answer that question.
I don't know. This is like death on the Nile. Who knows who's going to make it? I don't know.
Really.
Cole, you mentioned that you would like more scenes at some point to work with Gil. I wanted to ask Gil and Kelsey, both of you have scenes that are very much removed from a larger part of the cast. But those characters are often in opposition to what the Duttons are trying to accomplish. Do you find that it's beneficial to have that distance? Or when cut happens, does everybody kind of coalesce together?
I personally, I'll go down to the set and on the ranch, just to watch some of the other cast work. The storylines haven't really cross paths with anybody. The relationship with Thomas Rainwater and John Dutton was adversarial. That's not the word. But it was confrontational in the beginning. It's kind of it's kind of developed into deeper respect, or maybe of understanding each other, having a similar goal for different reasons. But yeah, I just love the cast in general, just hanging out with them, watching them work. If we're not working scenes together, then it's a big family.
Incredible. How about you, Kelsey?
Yeah, I think that these are all really different characters, but I think at the end of the day, there is this quality that, Monica really does share with the Duttons, which is this unconditional love where you can, kind of fuck up and then dinner's at 7. You might not, eat dinner. We don't seem to eat dinner a lot in the show, but yeah, and actually I feel that way offset as well. It's really, it's a family. It's been a year and a half, and I really miss them.
When it comes to this show setting and being out in the West, is there anything that you have picked up from your experience being out there that you thought this would be beneficial for me to bring into the series? I didn't know this coming in.
Great question. I know there have been things just from being out there, and living our lives. Like, I brought my kids out. They went to school there. We got involved with the community. So I know, I guess I can't put my finger on the things. It's just the joy of being able to shoot on location, and especially in this kind of location, is absorbing the environment around you. And the fact that we're playing a modern Western and we're talking about things going on right now, it sure, it like seeps into all of our beings. I have trouble obviously finding the words for it, but there's definitely something different out there about how you live and how you see the world, and hopefully we are absorbing it, and hopefully it is coming across.
One of the aspects of this kind of current day Western that I find really fascinating is that, very much like there used to be an archetype of a rancher or a cowboy in the early 20th century, we're tackling it from a 21st century standpoint now. And part of that is reframing this whole cliche of cowboys versus American Indians. Yellowstone has touched on violence against American Indian women, of course, sterilization. What is it like kind of reframing that idea of what we've come to kind of consider a cliche and, recreating it for today's audience?
We're just grateful for the writing, because it's what's really injected the storylines and some of the issues that he's addressed in it in such a respectful way, in such a contemporary way, because, it's not our purpose to educate, but we do love to inform people about what the rural conditions are in this particular world that we're in. And I think Taylor does it brilliantly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think equally, just to kind of, talk about what Gil just said is I feel like he does a really good job of telling both sides, and making sure that they're even, and that people understand, both sides of it. And I'm very proud about that part of the show, and hopefully, Gil, you feel that way as well. You know what I mean? And Mo, and, I feel like, this year, especially too, I got to see a little bit further in to your guys' souls, you know what I mean? And how you feel as actors, but also as, as artists, you brought that to the light a little bit more this year, which I enjoyed as just a fan, No
one wants to be a part of a cliche in anything, whether it's your personal life or anything. And so, I think we've, really avoided that. In a lot of ways, the only thing that is not realistic is how many people we murder. That's a function of heightened television and all that. But if you strip that part away, that kind of has to be there in the level of entertainment, how broad you can go, everything reduces itself down. The loyalty that Cole's character shows mine is, think about it, it's when anybody changes the trajectory of your life as a young person falling away without a family and suddenly coming into one and being treated roughly at first, but with a nature of love. There's no cliche about his loyalty. It's not a cliche at all. That's a thing that he can't escape. And Cole brings that into every scene. And when I think about my daughter, who, for the most part, people out in the world, I mean, I made a movie called Tin Cup, and everybody thinks I came in second at the US Open. So when I go out and play in front of people, they go, God, he's just not that good. I have people come up to me and say, what are you going to do about Beth? And I was like, what? They want to know how. They either want to know how to meet her, or they want to know what I'm going to do about her. So it's kind of taken on. So what happens is Taylor has run a fine line of avoiding cliches, because there's a wildness, there's a dysfunction. And the place that we go to that heightened thing is where all movies go, in compressed time, to keep things exciting. So I think people seeing us talk against these landscapes is just something that people cannot get away from, and they love it.
Well, I think go ahead, please.
No, I was just saying, I think that Taylor does such a good job still of sort of keeping the West wild, like whether it's the characters or just, the cinematography, and just being in this wild environment in these mountains. We're driving to work, and I remember almost running over a huge moose at 5 o'clock in the morning on the way to work, and there was just, everyone has a story about some animal, and just the awe-inspiring vista, that just the landscape that we're in, it does just seep into you. And I think the audience get to touch that. And get to touch that aspect of wildness, whether it's through the characters or through just seeing Montana. So yeah, just that aspect of reframing, but it does feel like it's keeping it fresh and almost fantastical, like you are on it's some faraway land, but actually this is America, and I think it's sort of something to be proud of.
I want to go back to what you were asking about the Native American stories in our show, and I think that's something that's been one of the main questions I get asked, or things brought up to me by a lot of white people or people who aren't Native American, is that they're very interested in those stories because they're stories they're not hearing or know about, and also telling the story Native Americans in a modern sense right now, what's going on right now in a modern telling. And I think that's in and of itself is very important. And Taylor's bringing that to the screen, and we don't have enough of that.
Just off of what Wes is saying is you've got these two groups of people that are actually in conversation with each other. And there isn't one that's good and one that's bad. And, obviously no one is ugly on Yellowstone, but so I think that is very, and to highlight the contemporary issues you're already, he does a great job. I think you kind of have to speak to the hearts and minds of people so that you do see everyone as real, that we exist, that we're all human,
Yeah.
I'm from a pretty rural part of Tennessee, and I first heard about Yellowstone from my parents, who were huge fans during season 1. I think it was 2 episodes deep. And they said, Justin, you have to watch this show. And I was like, I'll get to it. And then 4 episodes deep, they were like, you're going to fall behind. You have to watch this show. And I think Kelsey and I have spoken about it in the past. Yellowstone in so many ways has bucked the convention that you need kind of a New York or an LA audience to push something forward. It's popped up all across the country.
We finally figured it out.
I think you guys did some kind of poison witchcraft, because
we're finally looking at us, kid. Let me tell you.
I have my own theories about how this broke out, but what about you guys? Do you have any theories on why Yellowstone has been this slow roll that's suddenly everywhere?
Well, my thought about it is that, I think people, it's relatable, in terms of the drama. We all have family drama, and it's heightened on a show, but but I think that's what makes it relatable. You know, you everybody's got their relationship issues with family members or friends, and that's what you're witnessing. But you're witnessing in this backdrop that I love, metaphorically speaking, that, you know, maybe you're not present enough to realize the things that you should be grateful for. That these are just these little spiffs that we do with each other, but there's a grander purpose and connection that you can have, and that's with the land in our show, and that's with the land with the whole Native community. But that's why it's so important. But I think that's why when people get wind of it, then they like it.
Yeah, I think that at its core, movies, when they're working at their very best, are about things that people will never ever forget. You know, your first kiss you saw in a theater, what it's like to be a hero when you see it. I mean, I remember watching Giant, and I watched the hero Rock Hudson get beat, but there was honor in him losing. And I thought, wow, I don't always have to win to be a hero. And there was a heroic moment. And I think when you think about Yellowstone, what's happened is, people live in a world, and a lot of times they like to arbitrate their own problems. And we have agents to arbitrate our problems. We have managers, we have lawyers. It's a hard time getting to justice for people. There's great frustration in a neighbor that's just being a prick to you, and you just like to maybe not have to bring the law into it. You'd like to just go over and say, well, let's just even this field. Let's see if you still want to keep doing what you're doing. And I think Taylor has orchestrated a world where people would like to be Beth. They'd like to say the shit that she says. It comes out in a highly original way. It's authentic. Her loyalty to her father informs so much about how she goes, and then she's on her own. She's just untamable. And people like that. And when they see Rip behave, they go, I would like to have somebody that had my back like Rip has John Dutton's, and the things he says and how he arbitrates problems. And John Dutton's sense of justice, that it only has to do with his family. I think a lot of people go, I'd like to say that too. I'd like to be that. And so we get to say really cool lines. They're not of our making. I think that we've embraced them and we've inhabited them, and we get to say them. And I understand the value of a line spoken might be repeated for a long time. You want to have a catch. And there are lines in Yellowstone that are absolutely electric. And I think people around the country wish they lived in that environment and would like to say a lot of the things we say all the time.
I know Jamie Dutton does. Can I get one of those lines?
Imagine my frustration when I went to a Kroger recently and tried to roll out a Beth line in the cashier line.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
When it comes to these characters in the show's popularity, I know you guys were talking earlier. I think it was Kevin who said that you have people that come up and kind of treat you as John Dutton in that moment, even though you're Kevin Costner. Have you guys had a lot of experiences with that, especially as the show gains viewers?
Oh, I'm only known as Beth now. I mean, even family and friends know. But when I'm in certain parts of America, I mean, that's it. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a while before I can play another part that will be as people so passionate about. And it is that thing that Kevin said. People want to be Beth, and it's so funny because when I'm playing her, I think she's a monster, like an amazing, brilliant.
Honey, don't say that about yourself.
No, but I
love you.
That's Rip.
You get a certain side of the monster, which is fun. But there is a psychopath there, and I don't bring that up too much. I just say yes, thank you, or yes. But when people are literally wearing T-shirts with the lines you say, like I haven't ever seen that before. I've never come across that amount of passion for a group of characters. I mean, I don't even know did Game of Thrones characters have their lines on T-shirts? I don't know. It just feels like there is something about like Kevin said, these incredibly, you just wish you had some of that freedom, that chutzpah, that kind of that power. Sorry, Wes.
I'm just sweating over here, wondering what it's like.
I like to imagine.
He's saving it to the last season. I bet.
Oh, sure, yeah, we'll see.
There's one thing that we have to keep in mind as a cast. We're living a really interesting moment. This show has grown in popularity. It is, but there's other examples in front of us. There's the Game of Thrones. There's Happy Days. There's these shows that took on gigantic popularity in the country. And so we understand that, and we're riding some kind of wave. And I think that probably all have in the back of our heads that we've got to keep our heads down and really go after our jobs, go after the scenes that Taylor creates from us, and not take and just go at it at the same energy that we started this thing at, and let that, whatever is popular in the world, take care of itself. But to protect this series, we just have to keep pushing really hard as actors. And Taylor, I know, will push himself hard to continue to find the next window into this, because there's a day when it goes away. And I think that this cast is really mature enough to understand the good days that we're living. We had a slow build. We always knew we had something good. People are kind of catching up to it now. And we have to, in the world of being relevant, we have to be relevant to ourselves first and not to the popularity.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Well said.
Well, I want to do that thing that makes people a bit uncomfortable. 15, I know, get excited, everyone. 15 million viewers in the finale. PGA nominated, SAG nominated. I know that it was just confirmed that there's going to be a 5th season. What does all of that do? Is it, especially when it comes to a SAG nomination, because nobody gets into this profession, I'm assuming, for the accolades, but it has to feel good to be recognized by your peers.
You know, to Kevin's point, just to kind of echo what he just said, I think we have to go back to work May 15th and out-create ourselves and continue to do better work, continue to push each other as artists. And, you know, obviously, you know, as you said, it's really nice to be acknowledged. I mean, all of us want to be acknowledged, and especially as a cast, to be acknowledged is something else. But I love what Kevin just said. I feel like we can let this, you know, beast do its thing, and let's go, you know, season 5 and again, push the limits, take risks, you know, and that's what I'm really excited about. I can't wait to go back to work. It's been a while, you know, it's been a while.
I assume what makes a project like this so enjoyable is that you have to be a fan of the work yourself. So as you're heading in to season 5 and as this story continues to develop, I've always been fascinated. Are we dealing with a potential tragedy, or are we dealing with something where there could ever be a good ending for almost any of the characters? Do you guys have any thoughts? Is there a potential happy ending that happens for these people who, I don't know, like shoot their birth fathers at like blunt range?
I mean, would it be satisfying if it was? You know, it's like, why would we? I don't know. I mean, it could be. The thing about Taylor, he's always surprising us with his ideas. And like Kelly said, we had no idea what the actual rift between us was, but he still had the ability to take us there anyway. So, I mean, whatever he comes up with is going to be great. I am not, but I have no idea. You know, it very well could be a happy ending.
Yeah, I'm reminded of a line in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, happy endings are endings that haven't finished yet. Or stories that haven't finished yet.
I think it's Rip and Jamie and Bora Bora.
I know everyone keeps asking me when's Rick going to kill Jamie, and I said, "How do you know we don't team up? What are you talking
You and I
about?"
having a cocktail with the little, the little like lemon, but it has got the little umbrella in it.
Mine's definitely got an umbrella.
Cheers, babe.
It's so strange that you say that, because I actually wrote that down a year ago as my finale
No,
prediction.
you didn't.
So
Let me see it.
bingo. Let me pull this out. As we wind down our conversation, I think something that's really interesting is the generations that this cast spans. So I wanted to ask both Kevin and Gil, as you're working, are you seeing things from some of these younger actors where you're like, I've never thought of that in my entire career, and this person just pulled out this thing that I'm going to take with me now?
Well,
Not sure I quite understand. Go ahead.
Yeah, I continue to, be impressed with people, I don't know. I guess we all steal from each other on some level. I see something clever. I think to myself, I don't have to do it the same, but I thought that was interesting. I'm really willing to learn new things, and I'm dying to be wrong in my life. I have what I believe in. I have my own way of doing things, but I'm dying to be wrong. Meaning, I'm so open to seeing something else. And kind of a weird question. I don't know what you're asking me, really. But,
What does that mean?
But I know the cast is ready, and I really appreciate that, because we don't get rehearsal, and rehearsal is a lost art in our business. When I do movies, I try to get 3 weeks just with the actors, and it's a testament to the writing, and a testament that everybody that goes home by themselves, especially in COVID, and works independently and shows up on the steps, and all the SAG actors who are going to be nominated that night, all understand that we have to do our work in a really interesting way. And we had to work solitarily and come to the set with a strong point of view, and then relate to the actor next and hit these little marks with tape. And to try to make that seamlessly. And we're armed with great dialogue. We're armed with a really good work ethic. Everybody comes ready. And I would assume that for every other show that's nominated. As an actor, you have to come ready. And when that attitude, and I've had to come ready with things that weren't as good, but when you're armed with something great, there's it's just something that arms you, and it's part of the profession. You come ready. And we don't have the benefit of something that's a time-honored process, which is rehearsal. But this cast still pulls it off every time. So, that's what this group is about. And I'm not surprised, because it doesn't matter if they're younger actors, because if we were all in the Serengeti, we would recognize each other. We're actors. And whatever age, this group has come together prepared and ready to work.
Yeah, I want to say something, because it's really fitting. This is an ensemble nomination. Kevin set the tone early on season 1, reminding us that we need to help bring in our actors who are coming on, playing a day or maybe just an episode or something, and help bring them on at the speed that we're at, and for their benefit and for all of our benefit. And that's really helped a lot. And we have done so with vigor, and everyone's come in has already come in ready, like Kevin said, ready to bring their A game. And we've been really lucky with that. But also that work ethic and that idea put in our heads from Kevin, I think has really made the cast complete.
I just want to say one thing. I think it's so cool that our first real award is as a cast, as an ensemble. Yeah, I really feel like, Kelly deserves amazing awards. Kevin, the list goes on. Gil, even you, Wes, but the thing is that as much as you're a piece of shit, no, I'm just kidding. But the thing is that, no, but I just love that we, as almost like a family, like what we are, is that we're going into this thing for the first time, for people really to recognize all of us together. I think it's such an honor. I'm very happy about it.
Well, I can't tell you enough how excited I am for the nomination and for the upcoming season. I'm hoping that the 7 remaining people who aren't watching this in America get caught up before next season, so you guys can just claim total dominance. But I think that brings us to a close. On behalf of the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, I want to thank you for sharing your experience, your process, and craft with your fellow performers. And I'm just so happy to see that none of you are bleeding out at the end of the season. We at least know that everybody lives to see season 5. Who knows how long, but we'll see from there. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.